Well, you know, there's been some good movies and bad movies, and in the last 30, 40 years, I would say two of them stand out for me. One of them is called Braveheart, and the other one's called Rain Man. They're the two best movies I've ever seen. But the hero of Braveheart is a guy named William Wallace, and he's on an even shorter list of Scotland's greatest men. His story changed a nation, and also the life of the man who wrote the screenplay.
This year marked the 20th anniversary of the epic movie Braveheart.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace.
What fans may not know is that Braveheart's writer, Randall Wallace, got his idea for the film while vacationing in Scotland. In his book, Living the Braveheart Life, Randall shares how the movie has been shaping his life and career for the past 20 years.
You've come to fight as free men.
And he reveals the real source behind the story of Scotland's greatest hero.
What will you do without freedom?
Randall Wallace is here. It's called Living the Braveheart Life. That's his new book, and finding the courage to follow your heart. Randall, it's good to have you back.
Great to be here with you, Pat. Good to see you.
Hey, listen, this Braveheart was the best movie I ever saw, and you know. But you went to Scotland. You didn't even know who William Wallace was. You saw his statue, and you said, "Who's that guy?" What did they tell you?
I saw the statue and asked who he was, and a guard there at the castle said, "He's our greatest hero."
Yeah.
And I thought, how could this be that a man who's the greatest hero of Scotland, who shares my name, is someone I never knew? And when I began to ask about him, I saw in this a story that I thought could last for the ages.
What did you want to call it initially? You were kind of down on your I hate to say on your luck, but you were having some difficult days, and yet you pursued this particular dream.
This story called forth something in me that I had never found before. It challenged me to question, what am I really going to live my life for? What's going to be God in my life? You know, the first commandment, there are no other gods before me.
Sure.
And the turning point in my life was when I was on my knees asking God to let me worship not the false idols of fame or money or success, but to live for God and to fight for that.
Well, the Lord gave you this script of how this was going to be. I mean, how long did it take you to get it together? Years, wasn't it?
10 years before I had the courage and felt I had the tools. I think in that time, God was getting me ready to be able to write that story, ready inside me and ready for the tools that I needed, the skills that I needed.
Well, you pass the script around, and usually, you know, first-time writer, you get a lot of rejection slips, but people were bidding to try to get it. I mean, they went crazy for it. What happened?
It happened very quickly. I wrote the script in about 6 months.
Yeah.
The first actor we sent it to, Mel Gibson, was the first one to say, yes, I want in.
So Mel jumped on it right away.
Yes, he did. It took him a long time to say yes, but very quickly he saw in it that it was something he wanted to do.
You know, that was a marvelous movie, but there was some real brutality in there. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, did you write all that, or did somebody add it in on top of you?
Well, I wrote the story about what really happened, the way it was. The life and death of William Wallace was very much the way it was. I wasn't trying to write an exact history. I like to say you don't let the facts, the minutiae, get in the way of the truth of the way this man lived.
Well, was a lot of it sort of folk legend, or was it really true history?
It was legend. Most of it, you know, was based on the legends. There aren't any historical sources really that give you accurate. Winston Churchill said, "The story of William Wallace lives only in legend, but those legends have inspired the Scottish people for centuries, and his story inspires us
Lives
now."
only in legend, but those legends have inspired the Scottish people.
That's right.
It's amazing.
And that's why I really wanted to look at what this story has been for me. What is the life that this inspired in William Wallace? What inspired him? What inspired me? And how can we, in modern times, live a life that's the Braveheart life for both women as well as men?
What was the message you bring out of that? I mean, I know he died and he was screaming freedom, and so it was very moving. I mean, it's an incredible movie. But what was the message you want to bring?
That that you only find your life when you find something that's bigger than your life. That's what really happened with me, was a sense that I am insignificant without a greater life that tells me what life really is. That's why when people say to me, "Did you do a lot of research to write Braveheart?" I say, "Yeah, I read the New Testament."
That was your source.
That is the source.
The bravest heart of all is named Jesus.
Exactly.
Well, what else? You did We Were Soldiers. You've done, you did Secretariat too. I mean, you've had some incredible opportunities.
Yes. And most recently, Heaven is for Real, which was a bigger movie than Spider-Man. I mean, in terms of the amount of money it made.
Really?
Heaven is for Real was a hugely profitable movie, but bigger than the profits was what it did in our lives. It did in my own life.
You know, Hollywood is a cutthroat place. You know, we owned a movie company, and you know, it's a lot of glitz and glamour and hype and all the rest of it. How do you survive that, or do you?
Well, that's what I wanted to write about in the book. People ask me, how do you hold on to your faith in Hollywood? And my sense, Pat, is that I don't hold on. That's not faith. I let go and let God take me. And when I was writing this book, I was thinking, what are the elements that give you a Braveheart life? And what I say in the book is that you need a father, not necessarily your biological father, but you need a father figure. You know, when Duke University won the national championship this year, the captain of their team said, "Coach K has become my father." And that's not just the way you win in life, it's the way you have a life worth living, that someone has to teach you, and you have to be a father to someone else. That's part of the Braveheart life. You need a teacher. You need to be a warrior. You need to find a holy man in your life. And in some ways, you need to be an outlaw. And that's what I've become in Hollywood. In some ways, I'm an outlaw. I know Jesus said, as much as you can, live a life within the law. But walking around this morning and looking at the great pictures you have around here, Washington, Jefferson, Adams, Madison, those men threw out the old laws and wrote new laws.
They did.
And I think for a Braveheart life, you've got to be willing some ways to be an outlaw.
An outlaw in a new society. Well, Randall Wallace, this book is called Living the Braveheart Life. You want to get it. The greatest movie, I think, well, one of the greatest that's ever been put together, and this man is the screenwriter for that and producer and so forth. Randall Wallace, Living the Braveheart Life. What do you got planned next? Have you got anything on the drawing board?
I'm working on a new movie about Navy SEALs and the military fighting dogs that they use, yes. And the men and women who serve our country are true Bravehearts. They really live a Braveheart life. And all of us owe honor and respect to them. And I love to tell stories about such men and women.
Have you known any of them? I mean, these are personal experiences from you, or just something that you've heard about?
Well, many personal experiences. Before I did We Were Soldiers, I personally went to Ranger School.
Did you really?
Yes, I went to Ranger School for 12 days.
Oh, my goodness.
One of the great adventures of my life. And you're around people who, they may argue with you about politics, about your faith. You may fight over girls together, but in the end, they would die before they would leave you. And that kind of loyalty and faith is the kind of thing that gives us a Braveheart life, a life worth living.
Well, I know this is going to help a lot of people. Randall Wallace, Living the Braveheart Life. But thank you for the work you do. I'm so proud of you. God bless you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much. God bless you, brother.